Boy, do I have the best Keepa product finder search for you to make a ton of money this Q4. My name's Alex with AC Flips. I am back with another video on how to find awesome products to sell on Amazon for profit this Q4. It's been a minute since my last video, but I'm back to share some of the best secrets that I have about selling on Amazon, especially during Q4. This is my fourth or fifth Q4. So I have learned a lot over the years on how to find products that you can keep purchasing over and over again, all the way up until Christmas. So let's jump into the video. All right, so we're on Keepa. You go to data and then Keepa product finder here. And then it's going to give you a bunch of options to pinpoint search products that fall under the categories that you want to look into. So of course, we can control basically every aspect of the Keepa charts to find those products that are going to fit the criteria we want. So we're going to go down the line looking at a search that I use every single Q4 and find the metrics that matter the most to help us find the best products. And then I'll tweak our search to get a little more specific on certain things. So we're going to start from the top, work our way down. So we have sales rank here. I don't really care about averages as much as I do what is the sales rank currently, and then what is the drops percentage over the last 30 days, 90 days. That's going to give us trends on what's happening with the sales rank. Is this product picking up velocity moving into November, December, or is it staying stagnant? So what we're going to do is look at just a maximum sales rank, right? We don't care if a product sells super quickly, but we just want to cut off some of those really slow movers, because even with increased velocity, some of those really slow movers might not be fast enough for us. So I'm going to put a cap of 100,000, and we're going to scroll all the way to the right here, and we're going to look at the 90-day drops, because we don't necessarily need to see a 30-day drops yet. We could switch from 90 to 30 once we get further into December, or if we can even go as low as 7-day drops to see if there's any massive increases in velocity on certain products right in December. But for now, we're going to stick to the 90-day drops. Basically, what this is saying is what is the percentage that the rank goes down over the last 90 days, right? We can set that from, basically it says the range is from negative 1,000 all the way up to 99%. So the negatives we'll get into when we get to buy box price, but for now, we're going to say we want at least a drop of a 5% in the sales rank. So we want to see this go from 100,000 down to 95,000, right? That's a 5% drop, all the way down to a 99% drop. That's basically the highest we can go. We want to see products that are selling average and all of a sudden they're picking up a ton of velocity in the last 90 days. Again, when we get closer to the peak of December, maybe we want to shrink our 90-day drops to 30-day or 7-day. But for now, this is going to help with our search. Now, keep in mind this box in the bottom right corner shows the amount of products that match our filter setup. So we're sitting at 10 million products. We're going to try to get that down to a couple hundred, if not even less than that. So now we're going to go down to buy box price. This is my personal preference, but I really like to set a minimum price. And I want that minimum price to be something, especially on the category we're looking at, something that I know I can achieve, right? So if we're looking at clothing, I'm not going to go any lower than, say, 15. If we're looking at beauty products, I might want to go a little bit higher even, just so I can weed out some of the chapsticks, right, that sell for, $10. But we can get them as low as like $4 or $5. We're not going to be profitable on those types of items. So I'd rather not even waste my time looking at them. So I'm going to set a minimum of 20. And then depending on, again, the category, maybe we want to set a maximum. If you want to avoid any expensive shoe listings that are really hard to find, right, we could set a maximum of 100, set a maximum of 200. If you're looking in categories, say like electronics or appliances, where you don't want to, get into those $500 or $600 items that are super heavy, you can set your cap there. But that's what I like to do with current. I can also set, maybe change that to average to get remove any of the flukes that happen with the buy box price, right? Let's say somebody just went out of stock and then that price shot up from $10 all the way to $20. That's not going to maintain, but currently that's what the chart is showing us. So we might actually change this over to the 30-day average just to remove any of those fluke products that are going to be in the search that are wasting our time. We know we're not going to be able to get to. So now we scroll all the way to the right. Now here's where I want to look at maybe the 30-day drops percentage. And then this is going to be super helpful when we're looking at the peak of December. We want to go to maybe 7-day drops percentage. So now how we get the inverse, right? We want to look at increasing prices, right? We don't want to see decreasing prices. Those types of products are becoming oversaturated, right, with supply and demand. So we want to look at products that are increasing in price, which in turn, it might show you that it's just a velocity has increased, which means, people are able to increase their price because it's selling faster than we can keep in stock. or it means that the offer count is going down, which means we can increase our price because there's a lot less supply. If the demand stays the same, we can increase our prices. So 30-day drops percentage, right? We want the inverse. That's why it says the range is -1,000 to 99. So basically what this is saying is if we go a negative 50%, that's going to say that this is, instead of dropping 50%, it's increasing 50%. And then our minimum, right? Maybe we want to say 0. We don't want to see any drop in the last 30 days. So that means the price is either maintaining or going up 50% in the last 30 days. Now you can go higher than that, right? There's really not a limit. We could go all the way up to 1,000. We could say prices that have either doubled all the way down to stayed the same is basically how we can decipher this range here. So I'm going to leave it at that. We can even, go all the way down to like a 5% drop, because a lot of times increasing velocity, sometimes the price will drop a little bit, but that doesn't mean it's a bad listing. So maybe we don't want to weed out too many of those products that are staying the same, maybe just slightly dropping. That could give us some really good products as well. So if we need to narrow the search further, we'll come back to that and change it a little bit more to be only products that are increasing in price. So now we're all the way down to 1 million products from 10 million. Let's keep going down and look at our next search category. So now we're looking at categories. So like I said, we can pick clothing, we can pick beauty. Those are two of my favorite categories. So we're going to stick with beauty for the search here in the video. If you know some specific brands, we can weed them out and get the search a little bit lower. But I like to keep my search a little bit more open and then just kind of cherry pick the listings that I know the brands of, knowing that I've either sold them in the past or know that they have potential to be good for online arbitrage. We're going to scroll down all the way to offer counts now. And this is where we want to see a drop in the offer count, right? We want to see products that are increasing in velocity, that are selling so fast that sellers are selling out of their stock. They can't even keep up with it. So what we want to do, I don't like to put a minimum. Now, in other videos, maybe I've said we want to set some sort of minimum to weed out some of the wholesale sellers. For this type of search, we might eliminate too many good products if we set, a minimum of 3 sellers, because there are going to be a lot of products where, right? They used to have 10 sellers and now they're all the way down to 1 or even 0. So if we set a minimum, we're going to weed out a lot of those products that are, still online arbitrage brands or products, but the offer count has decreased so much that they fell out of our category search. So I'm going to leave that blank, and I'm going to say we don't want more than 10 sellers on any listing that we have. Went from 25,000 down to 23,000. Now, if you really want to eliminate some of those wholesale sellers, we can set a minimum 30-day average offer count. So if this thing has averaged at least 5 sellers in the last 30 days, that's going to say it's probably not wholesale, probably not brand direct or Amazon, because there was at least a couple online arbitrage sellers on this listing. So again, that weeded out a lot of products here. So that's good. That's what we want to see. And if you think that, the 30-day average is still kind of narrowing our search too much, we could say in the last 90 days, right? On average, this product had at least 5 sellers in the listing. And we removed the 30-day average because that might be too restrictive. Didn't change a whole lot, so I don't think that matters. But again, we want to see now a decreasing offer count. That is what metric we care about the most. So we're going to go back down to the drops percentage. And because we want to see a decrease, there's no negatives involved. And this is where we're going to play around with either 30-day or 7-day drops. This could be super helpful. Again, when you're in the peak of December and stuff is selling out like crazy, all of a sudden, you go out of stock on something, you can replenish, and you see that through the search here. In the last 7 days, this product went from 20 sellers down to 2, right? That could be huge in finding these products that are still in high demand, but there's just not enough stock on the listing. So you can take over that listing and make a ton of profit. So we're going to stick to 30-day drops for now. We want to see at least a 5% decrease in the offer count all the way up to a 99% decrease, right? Now we're down to 1,000 products. Hopefully that makes sense on the drops. And then we're going to keep scrolling down. We only have a few more categories to filter out. And then we are going to look at the search and see what products there are. So now we're down to the buy box out of stocks, the press. We have 90-day out of stock percentage. This is how we're going to weed out Amazon from being on some of these listings. Because again, out of these 1,000, Amazon could be on some of them. And if they're on it all the time, then that's probably a product we might want to avoid, unless we know that they historically go out of stock in December. But to give us at least a little bit better of a search, we're going to say Amazon is out of stock on these listings at least 50% of the time in the last 90 days. Now that could be, they're coming out of stock as of recently because they're starting to sell out with, we're in mid November, so we're starting to see stuff increase in velocity. So maybe Amazon already went out of stock and hasn't replenished. And then of course we want to go all the way up to 100% of this time in the last 90 days. Amazon is out of stock. All right, now we're down to, we started with like over 10 million products. Now we're down to under 900, which still might be a little bit too much, but we're going to start cherry picking listings. So let's look at the search. We're going to find the products here. All right, so we have our search up, and here's how I cherry pick the listings. What's awesome about Keepa is that you can hover over the title, and in the bottom right corner, it's going to show you the graph itself. Or you can just click on the product, right? It's going to bring up all of the Keepa data that you normally see on the extension when you're on the Amazon listing. But this is exactly the type of product that we wanted to find in the search here. We see that the buy box price was $15. That thing slowly crept up all the way to $22. Now, again, this is one of those products that are on the borderline of it wasn't in our criteria, a month ago, but now it is. It just crept over that $20 minimum threshold. But this is the type of product, right? We see this sales rank start to drop a bunch. I mean, this is like the #1 seller right now, which is kind of an anomaly product, but it fits our search criteria, right? We see that the price is lower. It increased. The offer count slowly decreased over time, but down to 1 seller. This might be a product that we don't want to be selling on, but it looked like it was a good online arbitrage product at one point. We see this big drop off, which could mean that this became an IP product, but it does sell really well, which makes sense if the brand wanted to get all of those sales and not allow other online arbitrage sellers to take sales from them. But so I will just go down the line and look at some of the brands that I know, right? I want to look at brands that I recognize. This can be brands that I just use in my everyday life or I see at the store. These are, if you aren't familiar with a ton of these brands, then just go with ones that you know. Doesn't mean it's going to be a good online arbitrage brand, but that's why we look into the data a little further to make that determination. So native deodorant, we see that the price there, I don't love that spike in the sales rank, but we're looking at some really low ranked stuff. We do see some FBA sellers. We do see some FBM sellers on this listing, but I'm going to skip that for now. Again, we want to look at charts that look just like this. But again, we don't want just one seller on the listing where it looks like no one's getting back on it. Okay, as we scroll down, this is a product that the chart really excites me, right? If we click into this and we look at it a little bit bigger, we see that price, a lot lower 3 months ago. We see it at $28. Now it's all the way up to $39. So what we would like to see is that decrease in the offer count, which again, we don't see a huge decrease, but it went from 6 sellers all the way down to 2 or 3. So again, those two match up. And then we do see that decreasing rank as well. Was, around 1,000. Now we're down to 600-700. So everything's kind of looking like the type of product we want to be able to see. So now we have this page open here. What we could do is either open up the Amazon listing, or we could look at the data a little bit further. I'm going to right click, open this link in a new tab, because what we want to do is make sure that we stay on the search here, right? If we just click on this, it's going to open up Amazon and it's going to remove our search. So we want to make sure our search stays open. So we're going to open that in a new tab. All right, once we have the Amazon page open, from there, we can just do all of our analysis. So we have our seller amp extension here that we can go through and look at all of the different variations. We can look at the offer counts. We can do our profit calculation, and then we can search if we can actually find this product on Google. So we're going to do that quick, do a quick search here. Looks like we're looking for fresh coconut cotton fine fragrance. It's a mist spray, 8 ounces, something we could definitely merch and fulfill. Not seeing it right off the bat here. Do see it on eBay, which isn't a great sign, but if we were able to find this profitably, right, we would be able to use our seller amp extension to do that analysis and then see how many we want to purchase. So let's go back to the search, see if we can find an actual product that we can find profitably. Okay, if we scroll down a little bit further, one more product that we see that does follow our criteria. So let's look at the chart a little bit further, do our quick analysis. So this one's a little bit harder to tell that there's an increase in the price, but again, our search involved products that just maintain their price, right? We don't want to see a big decrease. We are hoping for a big increase, but we also don't care if it doesn't increase at all, as long as the chart looks like what we want it to look like. So we do see some lower prices that Amazon is on and off this listing. Looks like they haven't been on since middle of October, which is great. But we do see pretty consistently that FBA sellers are getting the sales at $82. We see some FBM sellers jumping in a little bit lower at $71, $72. But then we also see FBM sellers up at $82. So $82 seems like a really good price. We see that this thing sells a bunch of times a month, 1,000, and we do see a nice decrease in the offer count. We're all the way down to only a couple sellers, and we were up, almost to 10 sellers. So this is definitely a product to look into a little bit further. All right, now that we have the page open, we're looking at our seller amp extension to see if we can find this profitably. Again, 70.99 is a little bit low. We want to see what the low, it says the lowest FBM seller is at 70.99. But if we look at that Keepa chart, again, I just said we could sell this at $82. It has sold there pretty consistently. And those sellers, that were at 82 are now out of stock. So I think we should look at and analyze this product as if we were selling it at $82. Now our max cost is 47. Again, quick Google search. This is what's great about Seller Amp as well. Helps you get through products quickly, source them quickly. All right, we see right here, the Perfume Spot 4301. Looks like the exact same product. It's the same name. I'm not going to try to pronounce it, 3.4 ounces. So let's go back to the listing here. We're looking at basically $43, 4301. We're going to make $18 profit, 43% ROI. This is just one of many products that we see that decreasing offer count. The price stays the same. And honestly, if that one seller selling at 70 goes out of stock, we could list this at 80, 85, 90. Who knows? If we're the only seller on the listing, we can basically price it at whatever we want. And it sells, 1,000 times a month. So people are going to pay whatever they need to buy this as a gift or to buy it for themselves based on, the holiday season. So this is a really great product. And we didn't even get through more than 20 or 30 products in this search. So this search is a great one. All right, so real quick, let's just go back to the overall search here. We have 800 products, but if we scroll all the way down, we can narrow this down a little bit further. Like I said, we can do a few tweaks that are going to change the amount of products and the data that we're looking at. We could do a bought in the last month. That's going to reduce that 800 down to a lot less product. Let's say we want to look at only products that already currently sell 100 times a month, but that offer count is decreasing, the buy box price is increasing, and the sales rank is decreasing, which means that 100 is going to go even higher over the next month. So that brings our number of products all the way down to 350. If we want to look at only low return rate products, now this is a metric that Amazon puts on some of the listings, right? If it's a variation listing, a lot of times they'll say this variation doesn't get returned very often. That's basically what this is referring to. Brings you all the way down to 17 products. So this might narrow it a little bit too much. But we can, check that if we really want to. Ratings is something we can modify too. That's only looking at good products, right, that get a lot of good ratings. So something we could look at is, doing a minimum of 4 out of 5 star rating, right? So that's going to eliminate maybe some products that, don't get a lot of good ratings. They're only sitting at like a 3, 3.5. Yeah, only took out a couple products, but again, those are, certain products that might be bad for us in the short term. And again, a lot of these searches can also be modified to look a little bit quicker time frames, right? 90-day drops, not always going to give us, super data that's reacting to the market quickly, but 7-day drops definitely will react to the market super quickly. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. I know I threw a lot of information at you, but save it, come back to it when you're doing searches in the future. And hopefully you guys make a ton of money this December selling products on Amazon. My name's Alex. Subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video, whenever that is.